Morning, guys. Happy Friday. Today is January 24th, 2020, and we are continuing along with the turbo rebuild and installation for my 6-liter truck. So last night I finally got my KC turbo rebuild kit. It's the 360 thrust collar kit. Supposedly it helps with cooling the turbocharger. Anyways, I got it all set up here. In fact, these are the new bearings here for the turbine shaft. Right now what I'm doing is just beginning my assembly here. This O-ring has been replaced. That's provided by KC Turbo. I still need to polish up this wheel, or this turbine spot for the VGT solenoid, where the VGT arm is. So I still got to go through that because it's pretty tight. So I still got to go through that first, and then I'll continue assembly. So I got a sander here. I'm just gonna go over this, smooth out the surface, and then I'm gonna apply anti-seize around this area on the unison ring, the vanes here, and then on the surface of the exhaust side. So still plenty of prep work to do. However, I'm giving the update here. So this second video is gonna start here. So let's do this thing. All right, y'all, continuing on the turbo rebuild. I got the turbine here. Just requires a little tap and it gets right in. Next thing is the thrust collar here. You want to make sure that's well lubricated, and that's going to go on like so. Once it sits flush, then you have the oil collar here. I'll clean that up, but that's going to sit with these open chambers here. It's going to go in like this, forward. That's where we're at. Is this seal here. This is going to go right here. It'll sit like that. However, before we install that, we want to get the seal on. You can see the groove for the seal, and there's the brand new seal. So you lubricate this up, and then you'll just place it right in there. It'll sit, and then we can move on to the next step. Bearing seal is installed. It's just going to go over the turbine shaft. These 4 mounting holes will line up with these 4 mounting holes, and the shaft will go through in the center. Okay, and it's just going to sit like this. The spline's going to be in the middle here. Make sure that your arrow here lines up with your solenoid receptacle here. You want to make sure this faces up and this faces forward, because the placement of your cover is going to be crucial. You want to make sure this gets installed properly. So this plate can go in any direction. It can mount in any direction. There's no certain place where this thing sits. So you want to make sure that you have it in the right spot before you tighten everything down. KC Turbo provides you with 4 brand new bolts here for this plate. And then obviously the turbine shaft will fit right here in the center. So I'm going to get these 4 bolts in. That is a 3/8. Correct? No, a 5/16. I'm sorry, a 5/16. Get all these in, torque them down in a cross pattern, and then we'll go ahead and move into the compressor wheel. Okay, once you have this set here, you can go ahead and take your compressor wheel, get it a little oily. You can go ahead and put it. These are left-handed threads, so you want to turn it this direction, and when you do that, right, it'll go right on. So you just want to make sure that you support your turbo when you do install this, and it should go right down. Okay, y'all, by this point the compressor wheel is installed. Like I said, left-handed threads. Once you get it flush here to the surface, you want to do an additional quarter turn. So you can use a 7/8 here in the back on the turbine to support that, while using a 9/16 here on the compressor wheel to just get the additional quarter turn. By that point, this is the last time you're going to see this face, so I'd recommend just cleaning it the best you can. Doesn't need to be totally spotless on this part. Additionally, the O-ring, which is provided to you by KC Turbo's kit, you want to make sure that is lubricated I got some gear oil here that I just use as a lubricant here all throughout this process, just to make it go a little smoother. And then get this lubed up, because you want to make sure that sits properly too. After that, we'll go ahead and install the housing cover here for the cold section. It'll just place on top like that. So stick around. Clean, just use a quick air, some shop air. Be good to go. And there's the face of it here. Again, like I like to be doing, I just want to make sure that there's no binding or anything. As you can see, still spins freely, no noises. You got your bolts here lining around the wheel, or around the housing. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and use some anti-seize here. I've already cleaned up this area, it's smooth, so I'm just gonna put anti-seize around here, and then I'll throw anti-seize on the vanes underneath here, and then additionally on the unison ring. Alright, so I just got I got a thin application anti-seize here on the inside. The vanes are placed. The unison ring, I gave another thin layer on that. So the key to this, right, this is gonna sit, so you have your Dow indication here, right? You wanna make sure your unison ring, the actual piece for the variable guide vanes, for that little arm to actuate, is 90 degrees here. So it should sit around this area, and the key to this is you want to get all these variable vanes lined up. There's a certain spot where you have to get them so it engages, and you should be able to move this freely. So let me get that first, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright guys, this is what I'm talking about. So the anti-seize is used, so now I can move this by my finger, you know. So you see how the variable vanes, they all just move. So this is going to help prevent it from getting any sort of bind in the future. So the next step is we're just going to place this. Is it going to sit on top of here? And so you got to make sure you get it into the right spot, because it's got to clock in. So the turbine has to clock in using this dowel and this variable this arm here. So you want to make sure this is also good to go. So I'm gonna put, like I said before, another thin coated anti-seize just around here, around this arm, and then I'll be placing this down. Okay, now that we got this in the right position, I realized I had it in the wrong position. This was actually flipped, so I need to flip it the other way. It's still good to go. And now I have a thin coat of anti-seize on there. So we'll go ahead and get this placed. Alright, after a little bit of wiggling, it sits down in place as such. You can move the turbine right now, not binding on anything. It's sitting exactly where I need it to. So right now what I'm doing, I'm just tightening up this V-band clamp to the hot section here. This is, I think, the most easily accessible spot, considering the air will go in through here. So that's where we're gonna tighten it at. So we'll just get this all buzzed down, and we'll go ahead and throw this onto the truck. Of course, don't forget your heat shield. And yeah, I know, I see that the paint didn't come over here. I know it doesn't look the best, but I'll just try something out. So give me a break on that one. It'll look fine. If it burns off, it burns off, you know. And by the way, all that stuff in there is just a little bit of the anti-seize from just putting it in, so nothing bad. Didn't catch anything. Still sounds pretty good. Okay, and the turbo's in. Since it was my first time removing a turbocharger on this truck, it was very difficult just to get everything back aligned. The ducting was pretty easy, cac tube was pretty easy, but actually getting the turbo mounted on the pedestal right, and where that oil pipe connects at the bottom, that was a little difficult. Additionally, the clamps in the back, but I was able to get them and access them just fine. So we're gonna go ahead and start the truck and see if I notice any leaks. It's probably gonna smoke a little bit, considering that's when I shut it down, it still had oil in it, and there was still oil in the downpipe. So I'm just going to start it up and just see if there's any sort of notable difference. It definitely sounds a little louder. You know, that oil dumps out right now. Smoke.